Hello and welcome to another video from me, Rough Swordsman Wargamer. This time, as you can probably tell from the title, we're attempting a playthrough of White Star Rising from L'nL Publishing. Platoon level combat in World War II. It's June of 1944 and American tanks strive to liberate occupied France. Along with that, I'm going to be attempting to use the solo assistant, which you can use for both Nations at War and World at War 85. So let's get it set up. Just to let you know, this game, which was kindly sent to me by a subscriber, was pre-upgrade. So I have got myself the upgrade kit, and that's quite handsome there. Look at that, because some of the counters were incorrectly printed, so you get replacement counters. You also get a new, if you wish to use it, a new turn record track and somewhere to put the cards, because you do get all the cards, all a bit glary, all the cards, so you can use these instead of the counters. The new version 3 rules, which we shall be using, and the updated module and scenario booklet, a revised terrain effects chart, and a nice sort of rules reference, which is a 2-pager. There we are. Right, let's have a look at the scenario. I've decided to have a go at this scenario. Let's get this liberation going. June the 6th, 1944. The American 4th Infantry Division's landing at Utah Beach went well, with minimal opposition, despite missing the targeted landing site by a mile. Having secured the beach, the Americans began to move inland. So the Germans will set up first. The Rifle Battalion set up within 4 hexes of these 2 towns. And that's the makeup. There's also an independent unit, armoured infantry, and then some reinforcements are coming in when a certain situation occurs. For the Americans, we've got elements of the 2nd 16th Infantry, elements of the 451st Armoured, and they have some reinforcements here. They have some parachute infantry guys come in, again, when special situations occur. Now, the Americans have 2 off-board fire missions and fate points. We're not going to use those as we're playing solo. It might be just less complicated if we didn't use them. It's going to use 2 maps, which you can sort of see here. I've set them up already. We'll have a look at that in a sec. 10 turn length. Use 2 end turn markers. It says in the cup, but we'll be using the cards. Now the victory conditions. The Americans have got to control these 3 towns by the end of the scenario, otherwise the Germans win. Some special rules. The 2nd 16th Infantry activates first on turn 1, followed by the 451st Armoured. And they may get another crack in turn 1 if we pick the cards again. And at the beginning of turn 4, we place the Chaos marker, or card, in the pack. And if it's drawn, roll a die, and if we get a certain number, the reinforcements can come in. Before we look at the units, let's have a quick look at the map. Here are the 3 towns that the either the Germans are going to keep hold of or the Americans are going to control. If the Americans don't, then they lose. Right, German units. Here are the German units for this scenario. We've got the 107 Battalion Infantry here. We've got the HQ. And I'll go through sort of briefly what's going on, but Gimpy Gamer has done a complete sort of set of videos on Nations of War, so I advise you to check that out as well. But our HQ here, you can see it has a 7 here. That's the morale of the formation, and we'll be using that, I dare say, as time goes on. Here is the command radius or range, so everybody in this formation has to be within 4 hexes to be in command so it can receive orders. If not, you have to check, and if they fail the morale check, they are out of command. They can't do much. Couple of support weapons, some heavy machine guns which we can plop onto a couple of the platoons of infantry. Germans are also supplied with some attached weapons. We've got an 81mm mortar, 75mm anti-tank gun, and a flak gun, which can also shoot at things on the ground. And here's an armoured infantry platoon, which is independent, so it doesn't actually have to be tied to that HQ. It can do what it wants. Now this game will be interesting to compare with Panzer Grenadier, which I did a playthrough for and thoroughly enjoyed. This one is completely different. There are no sort of combat result tables or anything like that, because everything you need is actually on the counters. For instance, these numbers here are to do with armour piercing against tanks and things, while this one is high explosive against soft targets. Movement here, and it's sort of assault values when we get in close. Now when we have a look at the American units, you'll see that some of them will have a little couple of numbers up here in this corner, but infantry, or things that are manned by what they call soft targets, only have the NATO sign, so they don't have any save dice values which AFVs and other types of vehicles have. So if they're called out in the open, they don't have any sort of save against the attack that's raining down on them, so to speak. Quick look at the old Americans. Here's the American formations used in this scenario. Here's elements of the 451st Armoured. So there's the HQ in charge, if you like, of these M4A1s. And there's the sort of save die rolls that I was telling you about, but we'll sort of explain that as we go along. And here we've got the 2nd 16th Infantry with its HQ, 9 infantry platoons, and a heavy machine gun support weapon, which is say we can plop onto one of those infantry platoons, and that will give us an extra little bit of bonus here. Just quickly showing you the reinforcements that may come on from turn 4. For the Germans, we've got a Pioneer platoon and a Stug. And for the Americans, we've got a couple of platoons of parachute infantry, but they have a reduced HQ. The reduced side has this white stripe as opposed to the full strength, possibly because it's only got we've only got 2 platoons, so it might be a bit overpowered if we had a full strength headquarters. Now these headquarters have to be stacked with units. They can't move independently, and unlike World at War, as far as I understand, World at War 85, these are actual physical units, unlike World at War 85 where the HQ is is a sort of more abstract unit that's placed on stacks to concentrate the orders in that particular area. Okay, let's get it set up. So the Germans set up first, and the scenario says the Germans have to set up in or within 4 hexes of this town here, or just below here, this town here. But I've decided to concentrate the German efforts there because I've got a feeling that the Americans will be coming in from this side, because you've got these 2 hills here, and there may well be something coming down the middle here, down the road. So our HQ is here, and with the HQ we've got a couple of infantry platoons. They can't do much until the Americans get really close, and here I've got an infantry with the mortar, so the HQ can spot for the mortar and do indirect fire. Here, a bit chancy, I've put the 75mm anti-tank gun on the hill. I know the Americans have got a couple of off-board artillery, but I'm hoping they're going to be saving them to sort of bombard here to try and clear the infantry out, because that's one of their objectives. And in this town we've got the flak and an infantry platoon, and the rest of the infantry, 2 platoons each with a heavy machine gun. And the heavy machine gun gives that platoon, it's got a +1/+1, gives them an extra 1 range and an extra attack roll. And up here in Arromanches, if that's how you pronounce it, we have that independent armoured infantry unit, and that's going to be the first unit that's going to meet the Americans, I would think. Right, let's have a look at the Americans. And here we are, as the Germans rightly suspected. The 2nd 16th Infantry is coming in over here. Remember, there's a 2 unit stacking limit plus an HQ and any support weapons, but only 1 HQ per hex. We've got our HQ here, and we've got 2 units of infantry, one of which has the heavy machine gun, and the rest are just groups of 2 units and a single one here. They can't start below the 8 row, so they're sort of tied in here. And up here we've got the armoured units with their HQ ready, possibly, to attack the armoured infantry in Arromanches. And here is the turn record track. Casualties going here. That's where we put the cards. And you may have noticed that these are in these little coin capsules. When the game was kindly sent to me, the chap had put the formation markers in these coin sort of holders, so when you put them in the bag and you pull them out, you don't get all your grubby, greasy little fingers on them. But I'm deciding to use the cards, but I'm going to keep these in the little coin things, because then you can move them along with your fingers without any worry about them getting all sort of manky, as we say over here. But I'm going to keep these in their little coin things, because we're going to use them for something else as and when that arrives. Right, here are the formation cards then, instead of the counters. And in here we've got the 2 end turn markers, and we've got the formation cards for the German 107. There's the 216th, there's the 451st, and that is to be the formation card for the lone armoured infantry up at the top of the map. So we'll give them a shuffle. And you're going to have to trust me that these are shuffled. Here we can see the chaos marker. When we get up to turn 4, we will pop that in the pack. And then if we draw that card, as I say, we throw a die, and that could possibly mean either the American or the German reinforcements come in. The 507th Airborne will be coming in one of two places, and will be under their own command because they have their own HQ, whereas the German reinforcements will be coming in here, I believe, and will be under the command of the German HQ of the 107th Battalion. Here is the solo assistant deck. I have made it up ready. The Germans are going to use the deck, and they are on the defense, of course, because they're trying to stop the Americans getting into those towns. So what I'll do is I'll give it a quick shuffle. And I may not use it all the time because the rules do say for this assistant that, you know, it's not the be all and end all. So if you want to override it or whatever, but we'll try and use it as much as possible. And we'll pop that up there for now. Down here, just to remind me, the Americans have got 2, 3, 4 artillery, which means when they decide to use them, they're going to throw 3 dice, and if they get 4 or more, that's a hit. But we'll go through that as and when. So let's get ready for turn 1. Okay, let's start turn 1. Now you may have noticed that I've put some counters on top of most of the German units, and these are concealment counters. I'm not sure we can get it in focus. You're going to be, there we are, concealment, +1. That gives them +1 to their sort of defence modifiers, or defence throws if you like. And you can have, or units can have, concealment markers on them if they're not under an ops complete marker, they're not moving, not adjacent to a good order enemy unit, and not within the line of sight, and within 4 hexes of a good order enemy recon unit. Only certain terrain hexes are eligible for concealment markers, and these are shown on the terrain effects chart. Here we go, concealment, and that will tell you whether or not that those units can have the marker on them. One last thing, I think I'll reshuffle these just in case we get, you know, I don't trust me either. There we are. A bit more of a shuffle, 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 shuffle. Not many cards there. Right. And we'll do the same with the solo assistant. There we go. Right. In the scenario, it says the American units, the infantry and the armour, can have a sort of free go, and we still keep their formation cards in the deck. So they could get 2 goes this turn. The only thing that the infantry can do really is to move. Now we have to be aware of things like opportunity fire from the Germans, which means that, as you probably know, if a unit moves and is in line of sight of the enemy and within range, they can have a pop at you. Now the ones that are going to be a problem, maybe not now but in the future, is this 75mm anti-tank gun. Now this anti-tank gun has, we can get it in focus, for soft targets has a 5-5. I'm not sure you can see that. 5 is the range, 2 are the amount of to hit dice, and 5 is what they need to roll. We can go up to double that 5, so we can go to 10, but there will be some penalties to the dice, and here is the armor piercing 635. So we've got to watch out for that. Maybe not at the moment, because 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're not in range. Yeah, there's another one here. We've got a flak, 20mm flak, but they've only got 4 range, so that would be 8, so that's going to be no good. And we do have a mortar, but mortars cannot opportunity fire if they haven't got line of sight. Now they've got a range of 14, but as you can see it's underlined, so they can't do extended, they can't double that, so they don't go above 14, and they don't get any bonus for being point blank. So they're not a problem at the moment, because they have to have a spotter, which is the HQ there. So, whoops, knocked the camera. So all that the American infantry can do is move. So let's have a little look at that. Now the HQ has a range of 4, so we've got to make sure, the first thing we've got to do is to make sure everybody's in command range, which they are. It's got a movement of 3, it's got a morale of 6, and a leadership modifier, if you like, of 2. And we'll explain all that when we need it. Here we have the summary. So the first thing we do is see if formation markers are to be removed, but nobody's got any on them. Check command status. Well, we did that. That HQ has a command radius, if you like, of 4. Everybody's within 4 hexes. Perform rallies. No, nobody is disrupted. Perform fire missions. Now, they do have a couple of fire missions, but I think for now we're going to save those. So the last thing it says, perform operations, move, fire, all that sort of thing. Now, the infantry have a movement allowance of 3, so we can move 3 hexes, or 3, we have 3 sort of movement points. Clear hexes, roads, cultivated, I'm going to talk about those in a sec, even woods are all 1 movement cost. Yes, cultivated. I've been watching some World at War 85 YouTube videos, and this cultivated is classed as degrading, which means that if any line of sight can be traced through 2 or more of these degrading terrain hexes, it blocks line of sight. However, in this game, the only degrading terrain, according to the terrain effects chart, if you can see there, is wreck and rough. And there it says, any line of sight traced through any combination of 2 or more degrading terrain hexes blocks line of sight. So, unlike World at War 85, it looks like cultivated hexes don't block line of sight. Let me know if I'm wrong and I've not seen the rule somewhere, or it just applies to World at War 85. Right, so we're going to move these 3 hexes. So, nothing can attack us, no opportunity fire, we've just checked that. So, we're going for it. 1, whoops, come here you. 1, 2, 3. Sorry if my arm's in the way. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and last, the little lone infantry unit there. That's all they can do, and they all get an ops complete marker on them. Which are these? And there we are. Next, it's the armour. Let's have a shift around gently. There we are, there they are. We've got the HQ of the armour. You can see again command radius or range of 4 in the little lightning icon there in the middle. At the bottom, range of 4, morale of 7 and a leadership modifier of 2, which we're going to use in a minute because we're going to attack this platoon of armoured infantry who are in the way of our advancing on to the rest of the Germans, which is why I think they're placed there. We've only got 10 turns, and these are going to try and delay us as much as possible, because if we don't take the 3 towns, the Germans have won. So, what's happening is, this HQ, it belongs or is associated with one of these tanks, normally the one on the top, so we'll say this one. Now, these tanks, let's have a look at their stats. You can see, hopefully, yes, there's its armour piercing values, 5, 3, 5, but we're going after soft targets, so it's 3, 3, 5, so we can throw 3 dice and try and get 5s, and the first number is the range, and we are within range, we're 3 hexes away, and there's its movement. This, by the way, is its armour save in case it gets attacked, and this is the assault value, which we might see in a minute. So that's those. Now, if you saw, the HQ has a little dice on it with the number 2, and that means for the platoon it's associated with, it can give 2 firepower. In other words, 2 extra dice to throw. So this platoon, we're going to attack this armoured infantry in Arromanches. That's how you pronounce it. Apologies if not. And we'll see how we do. So we get 5 dice, and we need 5 or more to score hits. Wish us luck. Here we go. Oops. No, not very good. We've only got 1 hit. Now the German armoured infantry can try to save against that hit, which is more than likely they'll do, as you'll see in a moment, because the German infantry is in a town, and a town, according to the terrain effects chart, as you can see, or city, it says defensive bonus. Whoa, 2d6 for soft targets, so it gets 2 dice to try and save, plus another one because of the concealment marker. So 3 dice, and with these dice they have to throw 5 or more. Any 5s or more will negate this hit. Yes, they've got a 6, so they've saved. This one, though, can now have a go, but it only uses 3 dice. It's got 3, 3, 5 stats. Can't use the headquarters leadership modifier. So 3 dice. And we need to throw 5 or more. Oh! 3 hits. But, as before, the Germans get 3 dice to try and save. 5 or more. Look at that. 3 hits. Now, 3 hits straight through. Now the first hit would disrupt, and they would get one of these on. The second hit is a step loss. And on this counter, it's a transport, so we have to find the reduced armoured infantry, which is that. But the third, it can't do another step loss, only two steps, is eliminated. So straight away, that armoured infantry is gone, and it goes on the turn record track under casualties. Now, these are done and have an ops complete on them. Excuse my arm. There we are. This, let's get rid of that. This other stack here can move. We've got to be a bit careful because the HQ has only a range of 4 hexes, so we can't go trundling off too far because that can't move anymore. So we'll just 1, 2, 3, 4. It can get into there because it's on the road, and the road is 1 movement point. I think that's right. And they are also marked ops complete. So that's the 3 goes over with. We now take the top card from the formation deck and see what it is. Oh dear, end turn. 2 of those, the turn is over. Oh, did you? Yes, you did see me shuffle them. The turn is over. Now, unfortunately, the poor old Germans didn't get a go. We've had a go, even though we could have got, if we'd have picked them again, we could have had an extra go. But these haven't had a go at all. So what occurs, if you're playing against somebody else, the person whose formation did not activate will keep one of these until their formation chit is drawn or the card is picked. But if you're playing on your own, and I take a leaf out of World at War 85, because I think this is what they do anyway. They put the HQ on there that wasn't activated. But I'm going to put, that's why I said at the beginning of the video, we've got these, and I'm going to put that on there to remind me that that end turn marker doesn't go back, or end turn card, doesn't go back into the deck until these have activated. So at least they are guaranteed an activation next turn. Right. The other thing I've got to do, of course, is remove this one because they are eliminated. So we shuffle the deck. Not many cards in there now. We move the turn counter. And we remove all the ops completed. There we are, as if by magic. It does say to shuffle the solo assistant deck, but we didn't get a chance to use it. But what I'll do is I think we'll leave it there. We've got the first turn out the way. The Americans have got rid of the armoured infantry. They can now trundle off. These can now, again, move down the road or cross the field, but have got to be aware of op fire from the 2 guns there. So I hope you enjoyed the video. We're getting going now. If you have, please subscribe, like this video, push the bell. It'll tell you when I upload stuff, and leave a comment by all means, especially if I've done something a little bit dodgy. So this has been part 1 of a playthrough of White Star Rising, part of the Nations at War series by L'nL Publishing. And we'll see how both parties fare in the next one. Until then, you take care and goodbye.